Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. I am continuing on my descent down the realm of K-pop. We've checked out some tracks from some solo projects from BTS members. I figure now's a good time to dive into BTS as a whole, see what the whole group is about. I was recommended, I think it was on the V track, the live performance that we checked out last time. I'm pretty sure it was a comment on there that told me to look at BTS's Life Goes On. This music video released in late 2020. So we'll see what's going on with this. 2020, Life Goes On. I wonder if lyrically this is about COVID pandemic. I don't know. Let's get into it, see what's going on with BTS. Interesting. Whatever that company logo was 16 by 9 aspect ratio, and here we've shifted to a more cinematic, whatever this is, it's 2.3 to 1 or something like that. Really chill and laid back. We've heard 3 different vocal deliveries already. I really like the placement of the twinkling stuff over here on the right. Really cool placement of all the vocals. The falsetto stuff is pushed out to the side and then given extra etherealness in production, which allows it to sort of sit around our center full-bodied vocal style. Yeah. We have a guitar that's playing with a similar but different melody that the vocals are dropping. It lines up in really cool ways. You know what's wild? This feels very familiar to me and I don't know why. I think it's the soft vocals against the laid-back drum groove, the minimalistic instrumentation. I've heard something like this before, not with all the vocals though. I want to say it was from like a pop rock band. I don't know. Now I see everybody singing here, but I do not hear. I hear 3 distinct voices, tops. Now it could just be blended exceptionally well, or it could just be the visuals here to show them all singing. Yeah. We're now 2 for 3 as far as K-pop tracks without choreo, and I'm kind of digging that. I like that I'm being tossed the ones that are that allow the song to exist on its own. I mean, obviously, there's the whole narrative here of like the group hanging out together and chilling and exploring empty areas. The guy was, got the dust off the bike seat and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, a bunch of stuff like that. There is a visual quality to it that I'm sure fans will enjoy, and they'll comb over to find little pieces of information and stuff. I've come to understand BTS fans to be a little intense when it comes to music videos and Easter eggs and information and stuff like that, which is it's good. Having a healthy fandom that's involved with the whole thing is definitely a good thing on all sides. It can get extreme. There's definitely probably some people on the fringe who are a bad representation of the fandom, but for the most part, I'd say it's a healthy thing to have such an engaged fan group. But this track, at least to me, is more focused on the music first than having some choreography dance to go along with it. And I appreciate that. Not that choreography is bad, not that dancing along music is bad. It's just on this channel, I like to hyper focus on the music. And sometimes, if the music video has dancing in it, anything flashy, it's going to catch my eye and it's going to divert some of my attention away from the music to it. And it just sometimes makes my analysis less in depth. So now that I've gotten all that out of the way, which feels like Bryan 101 here, which is probably accurate. I'd say that these K-pop videos bring in a very different audience than my general stuff, so maybe having some intro stuff like that helps. I don't know. Uh, Music. Here's the thing with this track, and it's a smart idea. I'm curious if this happens often in BTS music. There isn't a lot of instrumental stuff going on. Like I said, it's a smart idea. Because here's the thing, we have our drum beat. It's pretty consistent through the entire track. It's a laid back drum beat. We have just 2 bass kicks and then a very soft, I don't even know if it is a snare. It might be some sort of digital sound that is in the same area of a snare hit. Because it doesn't sound like a snare drum at all. It just kind of fills the role in, and it has a bit more of a pointed strike to it than the bass drum, which is more rounded and dulled. But at the same time, it also comes off as a bit rounded and dulled. It sounds like a higher pitched bass drum, which is certainly possible. It could also just be a tom for all I know. But we have this boom, boom, ka, boom, boom, ka. It has a groove to it, it has a syncopation to it, but it's also laid back enough. There's not a lot of intricacies. It's not very intricate. I don't think that's the word, intricacies. It's not very intricate, it's not very complex. It is there to create a groove, to drive that home, and to create this laid back feeling, to not have a lot of intensity and forward momentum to it, to simply just exist and be a groove. It is frequently paired with a small synth. It's honestly sometimes difficult to even hear it, and usually some ornamental ideas. The synth is primarily chordal stuff. It sits way in the background of the track. It's mixed way low compared to everything else. It's not as loud as the drums. It's not as loud as the vocals. It is there just to give the presence of a chord progression so that the melody has some context to it, so that we know what the emotion of the melody is and its contextual relationship to what the chords are. Um, and then we have the ornamental stuff. I mentioned a little twinkling off on the side. We had a little guitar playing some counterpoint, which is just a second melody against a primary melody in one of the verses. It's minimalistic. This is really all that it is. There might be a couple other things that are pushed into the mix that I didn't pick up on that add texture without being present. Um, Much like the synth is barely noticeable. I really had to search for it in the mix to find it. There might be things that are mixed even more cleverly that I couldn't find in order to craft a specific feeling or texture or atmosphere to fit with the mood of it all. Now, I mentioned that this is a very smart idea to have a minimalistic approach to the instrumentation of the track because there is a lot going on with another of the instruments. You might have picked up on this one. There's a lot of vocals in this track. So, we have 7 vocalists here. They all need a little bit of time. It's only a 4-minute song. There's not a lot of space for any of them to shine, so we end up hearing a lot of them at the same time. We have harmonies, we have counterpoint, we have different placements of ideas in order to create space. A lot of production tricks are done in order to find room for all of this and fit it all into such a short track. The composition itself, what is written on paper, the minimalistic elements of the instruments themselves certainly plays into this, but the production is a huge, huge role in making sure that this song doesn't sound overblown or overstuffed or too flat. Honestly, the producer had a ton of work put in front of them. This was not an easy task, and a lot of shout outs to the engineer who went into putting this all together, and then the mixer, who might be the same as the engineer, I don't know, who, just making sure that it sounds right. Now, there's a few different types of vocals in here. Right off the start, we had a very nice, warm, full-bodied, probably a chest voice coming in through. That gave way to harmonizing with some falsetto, some head voice, and then the head voice exclusive, and then that took us to a little bit of rap delivery. As I mentioned at the start, right off the bat, we had 3 vocal styles within like 30 seconds. That is a treat to my ears. That is like being in a candy shop. I love contrast. I love dynamic qualities. That is something that BTS absolutely brings to the table, and many groups like them. Anytime that you have multiple singers, and yeah, I know a lot of the fandom was upset at me bringing up the boy bands so often in the past couple of tracks, but boy bands also have that benefit as well. It is one of the nice things about having multiple vocalists, and boy bands usually having 4 to 5, BTS having 7, a lot of K-pop groups having 4 to 5, maybe there's some bigger groups. Yeah, there's so many different sounds you can pull out of the vocal performance, and that is absolutely going to improve the diversity of your track, improve the contrast and dynamic qualities, and it's easier to build something around that. Now, as I mentioned, many of these sections have lots of harmony. We had one section where we had some falsetto pushed out to the side. We had a full-bodied chest vocal in the center, and I mentioned it was like wrapping around it. It felt really nice to be in that section, and we eventually put something on top of it. That is a lot of vocals to be going on at one specific time. This is one of those moments where the minimal instrumentation makes a lot of sense because you're going to be bringing in a lot of ideas. Towards the end, when we had all 7 vocalists, at least visually singing, there's a lot of vocal tracks going on. The extra space that the instrumentation doesn't take up lends itself well to having all this going on. This is what I meant by smart composition. Is there a way to have written something a bit more complex for the instrumental part and still have included all the vocalists and have room for them all? 100%. Orchestras tend to have a ton of voices in them, and those voices usually have multiple parts, and it doesn't feel cluttered at all. But it would require a larger soundscape than these guys had. The production on this wasn't entirely claustrophobic. I don't know how many of you are going to understand this reference, but it wasn't lo-fi black metal, which just feels like the sound is right here around your head and there's nowhere to really expand out to. But it doesn't feel like some of the most complex and large soundscapes that some electronic artists like Igloo Ghost would have, where the sounds feel like they're all the way out here and there's so much room and space for everything that they want to put into the track. It sits somewhere in the middle where it is a bit more of a modern, closed sound. Everything's relatively close to the listener, but it is spacious enough to include all of this. It is a good size for what they're achieving, but they could have gone more if they wanted to by going for a larger sound, but it wouldn't have felt like pop. That's a whole discussion for another day. It wouldn't have been a bad decision. This isn't the wrong decision. Everything is knowing your audience, knowing what you want to make, and finding the midpoint between both of those. And I think this track absolutely nails that. I think the last thing I want to bring up is that final section with all 7 vocalists there. Maybe people who are more attuned to the 7 vocals and hearing all of their unique timbres. Some of them did sound a bit samey to me. I'm going to just wager that my ears aren't up to par with hearing the intricacies. That's the word I wanted. The intricacies between the different vocalists. I'm sure that they sound similar to my ears simply because I've never heard most of this cast before. So I just don't understand or don't have the knowledge to hear the small nuances between some of them. But I don't really think I heard 7 distinct voices in here. And at the end, I really only heard 3, maybe 4 tops in that section. But it could be one, as I said, that the production just mixed them all really well and had a beautiful blend where it was difficult to hear individualness to some of the harmonies. Or second, again, it's just my ear. Maybe there were all 7 of them singing, but I heard 2 of their voices and they sounded like one voice to me instead of hearing the distinct nuances between them. So yeah, if you have any information about that, go ahead and point it out to me. What you think is going on there. Is it a production thing, or do I just have bad ears for this? I need to train them up. And you know what training up means? Listening to more BTS. So I suppose you can just tell me that that's the reason, and then I'll have to listen to more by default. More reactions. All right. I think that about wraps it up. It is a bit more on the complex side for the vocal side of things. There's some really nice harmonies in here, some nice counterpoint. It is a rather chill song, but it also feels a bit simplistic on the structural and instrumental side of things. It is an easy listen, for better or worse. I enjoyed my time with it. I don't know that it had anything that would grab me enough to pull me back to it for a second or third listen, but I did enjoy listening to it. It is very relaxing, which is nice after I listen to some of the stuff that my typical community has me checking out. Let me look up some lyrics, see what's going on there, and then we'll wrap the video up. Alright, now one thing I'm noticing is that the members don't seem to all be represented equally on this track. Jimin shows up 3 times, twice. It is 3 times, but it looks like that is probably the falsetto voice that we get harmonizing with a lot of the more full-bodied core melodies. That's my guess on it anyways. RM shows up once, V only comes in twice, Suga is present once, J-Hope gets 1 verse as well, Jin shows up once. So yeah, a lot of people only show up once or twice, but then you get Jungkook, who shows up 5 times? How does that work? Is he like the leader of the group? Does the group have a leader? Is there like a main focus point for, like, I only really know BTS through advertisements, I suppose, and it all looks equal. They're all of equal weighting as far as who gets promoted most, who shows up most, who gets talking lines and stuff like that. Even in pictures, they tend to line up in a row, so not to give anyone prominence. I don't understand why one gets to be present pretty much every single stanza. So if anyone can clue me in on that, I'd really appreciate it. Now, lyrically, it's kind of what I expected given a 2020 release with the track Life Goes On. It's about life slowing down from the pandemic and the quarantining that the world did. And it's about knowing that as tough as things are today, as RM speaks about in verse 2, says, it looks like rain again today. I'm soaked to the bone. I'm trying to run faster than the cloud of rain, but I don't. I guess I'm only human after all. I'm in a world of pain. Bit of a little over dramatic, might just be part of the translation though. But I dig it. I think it sells the point really well that you can't outrun this. You have to live through it. But as we see later in the chorus, like an echo in the forest, the day will come back around as if nothing happened. Life goes on. Like an arrow in the blue sky, another day flying by. Life goes on. I think, if I remember correctly, oh no, that's just the chorus yet again. Yeah, it basically says that life kind of sucks right now, but it'll get better. We just need to live through this and find our way out the other side. It's pretty much what I was expecting. I think what really works well in this track is the multiple vocalists. I know I kind of brought this up from a musical perspective, but from a lyrical one, there is a unity present here that really only larger groups like this could bring through. I could easily hear lyrics like this from any number of pop stars, and I don't think it would be quite as powerful as hearing 7 people come together to tell me this message as one whole. It's the idea of unity through individual quarantining, right? That we're working together to move past this, and we will move past it together, despite the fact that we're all separated in our houses at the time. I think the message comes across a lot stronger because it's told by so many people. Yeah, this is great, and I think it works well with the laid back vibes too, because a lot of the quarantine was sort of laid back. We all sort of chilled at home and got bored, and what I didn't get bored. I'm in my house most of the time, anyways. Bit of an introvert. I was fine with it, but I know a lot of people found themselves getting bored by it, and it probably was a bit somber. I think having the laid back, quieter music, nothing bombastic going on, is kind of what it felt like to live through the quarantine. So it was a really nice musical choice to go along with it. And like I mentioned, just having so many vocalists to it, I think lends the whole song just works. Is what I'm saying. It works on so many levels: production, musical, lyrical. It all just comes together to this complete package. And also, if anybody wants to correct me on the not translation, pronunciations, I tried my best to get all of them right. And some of them are easy, like RM and V. I don't think I'm going to mix those up. But like Suga and Chung, Chunguk, is that how it's pronounced? Y'all can hit me up and let me know if I'm pronouncing some of these wrong. I'm doing my best for somebody who's never really engaged with Korean names or pronunciation or vocal techniques at all. I'm engaging muscles I don't usually utilize in my my usual speech. I know I probably butchered a couple. I'm open to improving on that, as that's something that I think a lot of people on this channel already know about me. We listen to a lot of music from non-English speaking countries, and so I've learned how to pronounce syllables and sounds in other languages. I don't know really what I'm saying, but I get pronunciation pretty good. I take pride in the fact that I try to pronounce things relatively well. So yeah, that wraps this up. I think I already said that. Give me your thoughts, perspectives, opinions, corrections on anything. Put all that stuff down in the comments section. Above that, in the description box, find a link to Linktree. Takes you to this menu right here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. That wraps it up for today, but I will be back tomorrow. We're going to continue our exploration of songs that feature spoken word segments and look at some brand new music for the week. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.